Okay, so this is going to be more of an introductory lesson for how to get started. If you want to figure out how to start moving with a longsword, building yourself up to have the conditioning strength while not training yourself in bad habits, trying to build up everything you need as far as attributes and skills. I'm going to start by gripping the sword with one hand near the cross, one hand near the pommel. Let your grip be kind of fluid. Don't choke the hilt, but don't hold it too loose either. You're going to have to learn how to adjust. So don't swing the sword any harder than you are comfortable. So you need to start with learning 4 basic positions. You need to learn a high guard at your shoulder or at your head. Germans call this Tag. There's many different names, many different slight variations of a very similar guard, but just at your shoulder or over your head. You need to have a low guard. Germans call this Alvar. There's many different names, many subtle little variations. All the way over here, all the way over here, and so forth. But it's this low guard. So you've got high, you can do that on both shoulders. You've got low. Okay. In between those, you've got 4 hangers, hanging positions. And those are going to be more the point in front of you. So that's going to be on the right and on the left. Point in front of you, the sword kind of hanging in front of you, and you're going to have the hilt up high by your head or the hilt low by your hips. And it's going to be to the outside as a general rule, not right in the middle, and not on the opposite side, and not trying to hold it to the inside. So for staying on the outside, and you can have the tip cross you, that's fine. So the tip you see here is going across my body. I can literally look underneath the sword and I can use that as a guarding position. And I can adjust whether I have the edge or the flat turned when I'm in this position, because this is going to be a landing position for horizontal cuts, for diagonal cuts downward, diagonal cuts upward. So it's going to vary in what position the sword is actually held in. So don't be too static. But know that if you're just hanging out there, get to a position that's kind of relaxed. So low hangers, upper hangers. And a lot of the actual more advanced techniques do happen in these hanger positions. That's where your fight usually happens, is engaged in some way, and you're in a hanger or you're in some other extended secondary position. So your primary positions, the high guard, 3 basic variants, each shoulder and over the head. Okay. The low guard, down, with the tip down low. You can have the rear guards. Those kind of are similar, but for now just keep it kind of in front of you, low guard. And then your hangers, which there's a lot of variation here. You can be extended, you can be contracted, you can be extended really far, you can be contracted really far. So just keep it at the hip. Don't worry about those specific variances later on. High hanger and low hanger. Now, if you practice transitioning between these, just step. Just stay balanced and step. You want to have a decent fighting stance, but your fighting stance is going to vary from situation to situation. If you train yourself to only use really deep, like horse stance type stances, that's not good. If you train to only use like really tight and high, I don't even know what I would call it, dance positions, that's not going to be good. You have to be able to shift between having an upright, close position to kind of a middle ground position to having a low, deep position, and be able to do all of that together. So, again, all you're doing right now is, I'm in this position, and you're going to transition. I'm going to be in a high position, I'm going to step, and move to a low position. I'm in a low position, I'm going to step, and go to a high position. High position, I'm going to step, and go to the middle position. The middle hanger, or the lower hanger. In the middle hanger, I'm going to step, go to a high position again, or I'm in the middle hanger, I'm going to step and go to a low position. I'm in the low hanger. So I'm in a high position, I'm going to step to a low position, up to a high position. I can go from high position to a high position, high position to a high position. These movements, when you're doing them, don't worry about putting power or anything on them, but do worry about extending the arms. We're going to work on cutting here in a minute, but work on looking so that the edge of your sword is actually moving on line with the actual angle of your cut. So you don't want to be doing this. That's bad unless you're deliberately doing that for some reason. You don't want to be swinging with the flat. You want the edge to track with the angle of your cut. So take your time, master that. You're here, high position, and you're going to step and go to the low position, and you're going to basically make a line that would go from an opponent who is standing roughly 3 to 5 feet, and if you lunge in, and you've got a 4-foot long sword, you should be able to strike the shoulder, exit at the hip. That is your line of attack right there. Shoulder to hip. Shoulder to hip. And that's where you're going to go. You're going to start at your shoulder, and you're going to end at your hip. So you can reverse that. Very simple. Just make it a smooth, simple transition for now. Same thing up here. I'm high, I go low. I'm basically unraveling through 2 positions there when I do this. But I don't have to. Rather than coming back to the shoulder, the high guard position, and then moving to a cut, I can extend, and this is not a powerful cut, but I can extend and drop the sword down to that low position. Extend and drop down. Extend, drop down. Extend and drop down. Again, control. You're building up some attributes. These things should require some customization. You want to build your hands, your grip up to it. You want to build your forearm muscles, your shoulder muscles, so that you're not overworking yourself from the beginning. So again, I'm going to do this left-handed because I'm less coordinated like that, so you can see that. Diagonal. Diagonal. We want that angle from the shoulder to the hip. Hip to the shoulder, shoulder to the hip. Okay? From here, I can extend and drop. Extend and drop. Extend and drop. Extend and drop. And every time there's a turning of the sword, by turning, that's your cross rotating in this dimension. Every time there's a turning, that's your edge traveling, and your edge traveling gives it velocity, and velocity gives it the ability to strike with force, and that gives it power to cut. So you don't need to be out here swinging a hammer as hard as you can. It's kind of counterproductive to do that. You wind up not allowing for the proper acceleration of the sword. You want to just very nicely move along that line. And if you can move on that line with precision, you can build up to the speed and strength and power that you need for later on. So here's your exercise. Every day, get out and pick up your sword and just run through and say, okay, here's my positions. These are my positions. I'm worried about making sure that I can hit these positions all the time, and then I'm going to start, and I'm going to step on them, and then I'm going to start stepping high, low, high, middle, middle, high, high, low, high, middle, and adjusting for being in a deep stance, being in a tall stance, being in a middle stance. And most of the time you're going to find that if you're in the middle, you can extend and catch up, you can withdraw and stand up, you can catch up and stand up, and it's very versatile to just have your default position kind of that middle range. And use that deep position for very specific stuff. Okay, so every day, just run through those positions, moving the sword in alignment with its motion so that the edge moves perfectly on line with the line that is being traveled by the blade. That's it. Every day, and spend time to exhaustion doing that. It doesn't have to be something you put a timer on, but you could. You could go really slow for a little bit, just working on precision, and then accelerate as you gain confidence and in your abilities. So that's lesson 1. Just start moving with a sword in your hands. We'll build on that to proper cutting and defense and additional techniques later.